Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm sharing a chilling tale that unfolds in the attic of an old house. It's a story of a hidden prison, a vengeful spirit, and a family's fight for survival. This narrative is a personal recount of a terrifying experience that changed my life forever. Join me as I take you through this dark and suspenseful journey. Story. It began on a crisp autumn afternoon when my family and I moved into an old house on the outskirts of town. The house, with its Victorian charm and creaky floorboards, seemed perfect for a fresh start. However, there was something unsettling about the attic that we couldn't quite put our finger on. The attic was vast, its dusty corners and cobweb-covered rafters hinting at a forgotten past. Among the clutter, we discovered a hidden door behind a stack of old furniture. Intrigued, we pried it open to reveal a narrow staircase leading down to a dimly lit room. To our horror, this room was a grim, old prison cell. The cell's walls were adorned with strange markings, and a rusted iron bed Saturday in the center, chains still attached. It was evident that someone had been confined here, but we couldn't understand why or for how long. My father, always the skeptic, dismissed it as a relic of a bygone era, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Days turned into weeks, and strange occurrences began. Odd noises echoed through the house at night, and the air in the attic grew colder. My younger sister, Emma, started having nightmares about a man trapped in the cell, screaming for help. Her descriptions matched the eerie atmosphere of the attic, and soon, the entire family was plagued by a growing sense of dread. One night, as I lay in bed, a chilling whisper echoed through the darkness. I followed the sound to the attic, only to find the prison cell door slightly ajar. Hesitantly, I stepped inside, and a sudden cold breeze swept through the room. The cell seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy. The next morning, we noticed that some of the items in the attic had been moved. My father dismissed it as the house settling, but I knew better. The once abandoned cell now felt like a living entity, watching our every move. It wasn't long before our fears were confirmed. One evening, we found a message scrawled on the wall of the attic, "I'm free now." The realization hit us like a ton of bricks. A prisoner, once locked away, was now out for revenge. Strange occurrences escalated quickly. Doors slammed shut on their own. Shadows moved across the walls, and our family's every attempt to leave the house was thwarted by unseen forces. The situation reached a climax when Emma went missing. Her absence was a gut-wrenching blow, and the entire neighborhood joined in the search. The attic became the epicenter of our despair, with its dark corners and oppressive atmosphere becoming almost unbearable. After days of searching, Emma was found in the attic, unconscious but alive. The cell was now eerily quiet, as if it had never been disturbed. It became clear that whatever malevolent force had been tormenting us was somehow connected to this cell and its dark past. With heavy hearts and a deep sense of unease, we decided to leave the house behind. We never fully understood the history of that prison cell or the identity of the vengeful spirit that haunted us, but the experience left an indelible mark on our lives. The house remains abandoned, a ghostly reminder of the horrors we faced. The attic, with its hidden prison, stands as a chilling testament to the darkness that can lurk behind the most innocuous facades. Continuation. Our departure from the house did little to ease the heavy burden that had settled on our hearts. The days following our escape were filled with a deep sense of loss and unresolved fear. The memories of Emma's terrifying ordeal and the eerie silence of the attic haunted our dreams and day-to-day lives. Several months later, we tried to rebuild our lives in a new home, far from the shadows of that cursed attic. Yet, the nightmares and whispers of the old house refused to leave us. Emma, now recovering physically, struggled with anxiety and frequent flashbacks. The rest of us were haunted by the fear of what we had left behind, and the unanswered questions about the imprisoned soul that had tormented us. One particularly stormy night, a letter arrived at our new address. It was from an anonymous sender, its contents written in a scrawled hand that sent shivers down my spine. The letter spoke of the old house and the prison cell, revealing a dark history I had not known before. It told of a man who had been wrongfully imprisoned and subjected to inhumane conditions. His suffering and rage had become a part of the house, manifesting as the vengeful spirit that we had encountered. The letter hinted that the spirit's torment was not over, and that it was searching for those who had disturbed its rest. Panic surged through me as I read the final lines. "You cannot escape the past. The darkness will find you wherever you go." Over the following weeks, unsettling events began to reoccur in our new home. Objects moved on their own, cold drafts swept through rooms, and shadows seemed to lurk in the corners of our vision. We were being pursued by the very spirit we had hoped to leave behind. The nightmares intensified, each one more vivid and horrifying than the last, pulling us back to the horrors we had fled. Determined to confront the darkness, I began researching the history of the old house and its prison cell. I uncovered a grim tale of injustice and cruelty. A man who had been wrongly accused, imprisoned, and tortured. His ghost had become a restless, malevolent force, seeking retribution against anyone who dared to disturb his prison. The research led me to a historian specializing in haunted places. She revealed that the only way to lay the spirit to rest was to confront its anguish and provide it with some form of closure. With her guidance, I prepared for a final confrontation with the spirit that had plagued our lives. I returned to the old house one last time, armed with candles, a journal, and a deep resolve. The atmosphere was heavy with dread as I entered the attic once more. The prison cell stood silent, its darkness almost tangible. I began to speak to the spirit, recounting the history of his suffering and acknowledging his pain. I offered a heartfelt apology for the intrusion and implored him to find peace. The air grew colder, and a palpable weight seemed to lift from the room. A final, eerie whisper filled the attic before a profound silence enveloped the space. I felt a shift in the atmosphere, as if the spirit's anguish had been heard and acknowledged. I left the old house feeling an immense relief, though the past could never be erased. It felt as if a burden had been lifted from our shoulders. We moved forward, carrying the scars of our experience, but also a sense of closure. In the end, the house remained a somber reminder of our ordeal, and the attic's prison cell stood as a testament to the suffering that had once festered within its walls. The story of the vengeful spirit became a haunting memory, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the most unsuspecting places. As I look back, I realized that confronting the shadows of our past was the only way to find peace. Though the story of the prison cell is now behind me, its echoes will always be a part of my life, shaping my understanding of fear, justice, and redemption.